And welcome to this edition of the Native News Update on this Tuesday, May 31st. I'm your host for today's program, Paul DeMain. Many of the stories right here can also be found at our website at IndianCountryNews.com. And here are some of the news stories from the day from the Associated Press and other Native news sources. The Ho-Chunk Nation of Wisconsin is inviting you to stop in for a groundbreaking ceremony for their new Ho-Chunk Gaming Wisconsin Dells Recreational Vehicle Park. That will be held on Friday, June 3rd, 2011 at 10 a.m. at the Ho-Chunk Gaming Wisconsin Dells site in the back parking lot area there. Stop down there. They may have some free bingo packs for you. A Milford, Nebraska woman made her a new dress. A local carpenter built a coffin, and the carpenter's wife cleaned her body. Prairie Flower's father, Ponca Chief Standing Bear, presided over the $15 Christian funeral. The grief-stricken father spoke of renouncing his tribal ways in favor of those of the white man. According to E.A. Howard, the government agent in charge of the Ponca's forced removal march to Oklahoma. But Standing Bear appreciated the community's gesture, which helped ameliorate the grief of the husband and father. Howard wrote in his journal, "This was a hallmark moment of this tragic Ponca Trail of Tears fight," said Joe Starita, author of I Am a Man, a biography of Standing Bear. Now the chief's ancestors want to thank the community that helped Standing Bear bury his adult daughter on June 6, 1877. They plan to host a traditional meal of buffalo corn soup, fry bread, and wojapi, kind of a fruit pudding, starting at 11:30 a.m. on June 5th in Milford City Park, Nebraska. The event is free and open to the public. Team Canada defeated the Iroquois Nationals 13-6 in the gold medal game of the World Indoor Lacrosse Championships, that's the WILC, on May 28th. Canada won its third straight championship, getting a gold medal. Had also won both previous events in the year 2003 in Southern Ontario and then in 2007 in Halifax. The Iroquois Nationals took a silver medal, with Team USA taking a third place and taking home some bronze. Flagstaff, Arizona has reached a tentative deal with the Navajo Nation that will allow the city to pump millions of gallons of water a day from a ranch near the reservation. The agreement, which was reached after months of negotiations, lets the city pump as much as 7 million gallons a day from the so-called sea aquifer, according to city manager Kevin Burke, speaking to the Arizona Daily Sun. If approved by the City Council and the Navajo Attorney General, the deal will settle all outstanding legal claims between the city and the tribe. As part of the tentative agreement, the Navajo Nation will not file any legal claims related to the city drilling, pumping, or delivering water to Flagstaff from Red Gap Ranch, which borders the Navajo Nation. In February, Navajo Nation President Ben Shelley had threatened to seek an injunction against the city in an attempt to block the city's plan to begin drilling under a state-approved permit. A former Belcourt, North Dakota woman has been sentenced for helping her husband distribute prescription pills stolen from the Quentin N. Burdick Hospital in that city. U.S. Attorney Timothy Purdon says 26-year-old Candace Keplin of Mandan was sentenced to 3 years of probation and nearly $5,800 in restitution on a drug conspiracy and distribution charge. Her husband, Timothy Davis Jr., was convicted of stealing nearly 50,000 hydrocodone pills from the hospital where he worked there as a pharmacy technician. He has not been sentenced yet. The theft became the basis of a congressional investigation into regional Indian health service facilities that was spearheaded by former U.S. Senator Byron Dorgan of North Dakota. The Goshute and Paiute tribes of Utah have won federal grants for wildlife conservation projects from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. The Desert News of Salt Lake City reports the Goshute tribes in the state got $167,000 for a wildlife assessment project, and the Paiute was awarded $192,000 to erect fencing to reduce roadkill. The Goshute tribes, whose reservation is near the Deep Creek Mountain along the Nevada border, will use the money to assess the impact on wildlife of the Southern Nevada Water Authority's proposal to pump groundwater from the tribe's region to Las Vegas. They will also use the money to challenge the controversial proposal. The Paiute tribe will erect protective fencing in the Punguch Lake area to reduce wildlife deaths from collisions with motor vehicles. The Elwha River in Washington State's Olympic Peninsula, once teemed with legendary salmon, runs before two towering concrete dams built nearly a century ago cut off fish access to upstream habitat, diminished their runs, and altered the ecosystem. On June 1st, nearly 2 decades after Congress called for full restoration of the river and its fish runs, federal workers will turn off the generators at the 1913 dam powerhouse and set in motion the largest dam removal project in the U.S. history. Contractors will begin dismantling the dams this fall, a $324 million project that will take almost 3 years and eventually will allow the 45-mile Elwha River to run free. The 105-foot Elwha Dam also came online in 1913, followed 14 years later by the 210-foot Glines Canyon Dam, 8 miles upstream, and for years they provided electricity to a local pulp and paper mill in the city of Port Angeles, Washington, about 80 miles west of Seattle. A Washington state law required fish passage facilities to be built, but there were no facilities built, so all 5 native species of Pacific salmon and other fish that mature in the ocean and return to rivers to spawn were confined to the lower 5 miles of the Elwha River. A hatchery was built but lasted only until 1922. The fish are particularly important to members of the lower Elwha Kalalam tribe, whose ancestors have occupied the Elwha Valley for generations, whose members recall stories of 100-pound Chinook salmon so plentiful you could walk across the river on their backs. And that is the latest roundup of news from Indian Country on this edition of the Native News Update. Thank you for showing up, and come back again soon.